Internal factors. Now, what are the internal factors that affect the learning of the second language? By internal factors, we mean all the factors that are specific to an individual, that are internal to the individual as he or she enters the second language classrooms. So what are these factors? The first thing is age. It is argued by research that it is easier for the children to learn a new language than for older learners. So children are said to pick up the language faster than adult learners, although the adult learners might be motivated to learn a second language. The second thing is personality traits. It is argued that if the learners or if a learner is introvert, that is, does not mix up with people so much, is less gregarious or less social, or keeps to himself or herself, then it might be difficult for that learner to practice the language. Because language is a means of communication. It is a tool that you have to learn by using it. It is, for instance, if I compare it again with the learning of a bicycle, how to ride a bicycle, people can tell you loads and loads of things about how to ride a bicycle, but unless you actually try riding a bicycle, you practice riding a bicycle, you will never learn how to ride a bicycle. Same goes with the language. So people or the learners who are introvert, who do not communicate so much, will find it difficult to practice the language, especially the spoken skills in the second language, because they will avail less opportunities to practice the second language. Third thing that we can say as an internal factor that affects second language acquisition is motivation. How much does the learner actually want to learn the language? This motivation is divided again into intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. We will talk about it in more detail in the later modules. However, intrinsic motivation is the motivation which relates to your own self. So you want to learn the language because you're really interested in learning the language. Extrinsic motivation is actually a motivation which is actually somehow triggered by external circumstances, and you have this motivation to learn a language because you want to do certain things with it. It is also instrumental, yet basically it is driven by outside factors. You yourself don't really want to learn it, but somehow you are in a position that you are sort of led to learning it. The fourth thing over here is experience. The more the learner actually are exposed to different types of cultures, have been living in different countries, and know more than one language, the easier it will be for them to pick a new language. So the knowledge of different cultures and the experience of being in contact with different languages also facilitates language learning process. And then, of course, cognition. So it is definitely a possibility that the children who are more intelligent are able to learn the language quickly, But over here, let me caution you that we have to be careful so as not to label our learners as unintelligent, and that would actually blame the child on for not learning the language, rather than looking for other factors that might be at work. And the last point is native language of the learner. If the learner has a first language, native language would also mean first language. If the learner has a first language which actually belongs to the same family of languages, then the learner will be able to pick up the second language fairly easily. So if he knows Urdu and is learning Persian, it will be easier. Similarly, if a Dutch is learning English, it will be easier for them. And if a Japanese is learning English language, it will be far more difficult for them.